welcome to the first Gigonometry Presents gig of 2016, and we've just had the pleasure of a very special gig from the Tightrope Walkers. So welcome, guys. So we have Elton, we have Paul, we have Keely, and we have Martin. So well done, lads. How did the gig go for you? Keely, do you want to kick off?
I loved it. I think we all did, and really chuffed with the reaction from people and just the whole vibe in the room overall.
Yeah, it was absolutely superb. And you know, it only struck me tonight that you're the only band we've had back 3 times, because one of the first ever gigs we did was in Sweeney's about 3 years ago, and you might have done a solo thing at the time on the night. But since then we've had you back in the Gypsy Rose and now in the Workmans Club. So 3 times you've been in Gigonometry in our 3 different venues. So who's going to give me the backstory? Because we haven't heard from you guys for a long time. Paul, you're nominated.
I really
Elton, what have you done up? We haven't seen you for over a year.
Backstory. We've been rehearsing a lot. Jesus, that's it really. Sorry, no. We've been in the studio and we recorded 5 tracks a few months ago with a brilliant engineer called Jerry McDonald. And we're very happy with that. So we were doing a lot of prep for that actually, because the recordings were done as live. We wanted to go old school on the whole concept of recording and not rely on pushes and pulls in the Pro Tools. So
did you go back as far as using 1/4-inch tape or something?
Oh, well, almost actually. Only we ran out of money, so we couldn't do that. But it was definitely considered. So I mean, if we had the money, that was definitely on the card. So the whole thing was.
It sounds like that's going to suit you guys really well, because a lot of the people I was talking to tonight in the audience they were saying, you know, it comes from like the Birds in the 60s right through to, you know, the Replacements in the 90s and all that kind of stuff. You know, so where exactly is the musical influence coming from, Keely?
I think we're all like massive musical like maniacs. So many bands we actually live and breathe, but there's 2 or 3 that kind of we all intersect on: Steely Dan, XTC, and Super Furries, and Television, and the Beatles. Those 5. I think Steely Dan and XTC particularly. I think the songcraft and the musicianship, and just as well as the kind of, there's just a kind of a lyrical, kind of subversive kind of qualities there as well. So yeah.
Well, you picked some amazing outfits there. XTC I hadn't linked into it, but the last song you did tonight definitely had that kind of Television vibe about it. You even let Martin go a bit wild. Where do you get those mad ideas for those wild kind of guitar things that you do, Martin? Any particular place?
Come to me out of the wild blue yonder. I robbed them off all the previously mentioned bands.
Right, okay.
Especially Tom Verlaine.
Yeah. You're just honouring those bands, isn't that right? And would you be a big Tom Verlaine fan in particular?
I was years ago, and I kind of forgot that I liked them. And then Keely bought us all tickets to see Television a couple of years ago, and I remember thinking, "Oh no, I've been copying him all these years."
You weren't obviously there the first night that we met Keely all those years ago back in Sweeney. So when did you join the band, and how did that all come about?
I was dragged in, kicking and screaming by Mr. Mullally here, who introduced me to Keely. God, how many years ago now?
It was it was.
I knew you didn't remember the date. That's why I asked you.
You won't go down
2012. Yeah. So and it
Down to the date.
it was a 3-piece for a while.
We did 3 gigs as a 3-piece. Yeah.
And we felt sorry for Martin then, brought him in.
With Martin, the sad guy standing at the side of the stage going, "I really want to play in a rock band."
We kept miming all these guitar solos, all our gigs.
Yeah.
And so eventually we said, "Come on, we'll bring him in."
I think there's a grain of truth in that. What happened was there were people. I felt that we were missing, colour in our sound, and every time we'd rehearse, we'd spot little segments and little sections that could really benefit from having parts. And Elton, even before Martin was in the band, Elton would already refer to, Martin would do this here, or Martin would do this. So it was already in the room before he was even in the room. And I remember saying to a mate of mine, he was kind of saying, "Oh, you guys are all set." I was like, "No, we need another guitar player." And he couldn't see that we did, but I knew we did, because it was only when Martin came in that it was even really apparent that we did.
That's interesting, because it's almost like you come full circle, because we were talking to Elton just a while ago. We were saying there's something different. It's it's tighter, it's groovier, it's, you know, it's come on since the last time we saw you. And the last time we saw you was really good. And Elton, you were reckoning that you've probably pulled back a little bit. So I'd imagine maybe when Martin came in, you were using him flat out. And is that still what you think is going on?
Well, we were told after the gig tonight by lots of people that we sounded different, and I was saying that we've been working very hard on the arrangements of the songs. The only thing that I can imagine that we're doing differently is we're constantly challenging ourselves in the rehearsal room to kind of deconstruct the songs and not be obvious with what we do in the songs. So instead of playing like a regular chord in a bridge of a song or something, we'll break that down and see if we can break it up between the bass and the two guitars, or even what the drums are doing. So that kind of stuff excites us, and I think you have to be doing that to keep it exciting being in the band, you know.
Oh,
so,
absolutely. And whilst I mentioned various references to various bands tonight, in fact, you could say that the Tightrope Walkers are not really comparable with any other band. It is quite a unique sound, you know. Is that a goal, Katie? Is it?
I don't think it's something that was consciously envisaged from the off. I think it just happened very organically. We definitely don't have any how do I say, parallels in within Ireland, certainly, and I've been told that before, you know, that even in terms of the reference points that we would kind of be citing, and in terms of our overall kind of sonic blend, and I think it's a really refreshing thing that we don't really fit into any of the micro scenes or whatever. We're not trying to how do I say, we're not trying to kind of spin anyone else's wheel. It's just a very much kind of a singular thing.
Yeah, and that's been kind of a hallmark since I met you that time 4 years ago. You really do plough your own furrow. It happens to be close enough to other furrows that have been ploughed, but it is quite unique in its own way. Does it kind of, Martin, I'll pitch this one at you, does it kind of bug you a bit when sometimes people like me throw those references at you? Are you thinking, no, I'm not really trying to copy anybody, or is it a compliment?
Like I said about Verlaine, it just comes out of you, and it comes through whatever other bullshit is inside me, and it becomes my own thing. So, I mean, you can mention those bands, but I could throw in Mike Bloomfield and Robbie Robertson as well. I mean, all of that is mixed in with it. So, please mention them all you like.
Well, we're doing well.
Andy Summers in as well.
Andy Summers.
Andy, you're in.
That reminds me, actually, there's certain, one of the, I think, the unique components of the way we have ended up sounding is that between the four of us, there's a few bands that we all four equally love, like Steely Dan and XTC, but then there's other bands that maybe only Martin and Paul will be particular fans of, or for example, like myself and Elton love Supergrass, Martin and Elton love Damon Albarn and Jack White. And there's certain artists that would have, like, two of us would love, and like I maybe the other two would love someone else, you know. So it's kind of a melting pot between people that we individually like, people who two or three of us like, and people who the four of us like. And then on top of that, we have, I think, our own twist on things. Says she, as I kind of brushed the what's that called again?
Sound effects.
Sound effects, yeah.
Grown adults and your childish cause, the nation of inebriation.
She writes all these songs, and her particular twisted view of the world definitely informs.
Which is, and how different is that from Martin's twisted view of the
I've
world?
got a very dark view as well, but not as twisted as hers.
Where does the inspiration come from, Katie? Like, I mean, when you write, is it a bit like it just comes out, like Martin was saying about his influence and stuff?
It depends on the song. Like one of the songs in the set, The War Outside Our Door, which I think is going to be our first single. I wrote that in my sleep. I know McCartney wrote Yesterday in his sleep, but I really did. I wrote the chorus in my sleep, and like musically, things can often come about. It's always entirely spontaneous. I never try and write. I never sit down and try and write a song. It could be, you know, because when you have as vast a backlog as I have somehow managed to assemble, it's always you know that you don't need to write any more songs. You're already good for it. So when you hear the melodies or the music in your head, then you kind of summon the spirit to get the guitar. But I always write a batch of lyrics like as I go on. Anyway, so yeah, between the music and lyrics, they kind of become congealed, and then But that's the thing. I think writing the song is one thing, but the lads like write the sounds, and that's why like the songs only come to life. That's one of the reasons why I love playing live so much, is because there's just so much more life within the songs when we play it together.
Well, it reminds you when you get this quarter-inch tape kind of feel onto the real recordings as well. That's going to give it a real live sparkle as well. So that's something to really look forward to. I was interviewing a two-piece band recently called Twin-Headed Wolf, and again I was asking them where did the songs come from, and they were saying, I don't know, they're kind of channeled through me, if you like, and it's interesting, you're talking about a similar kind of experience, for example, coming up with a chorus in your sleep. So you just wake up and suddenly you've got this chorus going on. Can it be difficult, or was it difficult to find three other people then who could somehow, as you say, bring those songs to life? Seems as they seem to be so wanting to be alive.
It was incredibly difficult. I always find it amazing reading accounts of bands forming almost effortlessly. Like for example, Radiohead, all five of them just happened to be in Abingdon University in the college. 5 brilliant multi-instrumentalists just happened to be in the same. For example, there's this thing of don't say it because I'm going to remember it. There's a band who would just there's a band I know. Actually, I'll just say who it is. It's a band called The Immediate, and they were a brilliant Irish band. Yes. And they kept on having a problem with like some bands have certain members who seem to kind of leave with frequency. Like Susan the Banshees were always shedding guitar players. Fleetwood Mac were always losing guitarists along the way. And The Immediate were always they'd go through bass players like at a rate of knots. And every time they'd lose a bass player, they'd just pluck another brilliant, multi-talented, multi-instrumentalist from their group of friends. I was never in that position to be able to do it. It took me so long to find the Walkers. It took me years and years and years.
As Martin said jokingly earlier on, I was just waiting for the right band to come along.
All the fun is in the creation of the arrangement of the songs. Definitely. and then bringing it to tape, and then perform it live. So we're having a great time.
It's a joyous process, isn't it? It's absolutely wonderful. And Paul, did you play with Elton before, or did Keely somehow fish you out of separate ponds?
I suppose myself and Elton had played together in a band called Readers' Wives for a brief stint, but kind of through some weird kind of scenario, I'd always kind of followed the bands that Elton had been in. I think I was stalking you for a long time. I never really got a chance to catch up with you.
I mean, you couldn't be any closer than you are.
But no, literally every band Elton was in, at some point I always joined after he had left. So maybe it said more about me than him.
We'll analyse it later.
Yeah. But we must talk about that.
Sure.
But it was Elton that introduced me then to Keely, and then at which point I'd actually played with Martin once or twice with Elton and kind of a couple of things. So we've all kind of known each other at various different points, and it just kind of came together really nicely. It's great.
Which is nice. When a pinball finds its way home eventually, it's just meant to happen. Last word to you, Keely. How was the gig for you tonight, and what's the plans coming up for 2016 and beyond?
The gig was brilliant. We really enjoyed it. It was our first time playing in quite a while, and it's been lots of things going on behind the music, as VH1 used to say.
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It's a process, as Louis Van Gaal would say. Although I hope that my process works better than his, because I'm not taking his process these days at all.
I thought of mentioning Man United. We have one behind the camera as well, but we decided we might.
We've got 3 Man United fans here and a West Ham fan for our sins.
Well, congratulations, Martin. Not going so bad these days, huh? But come on, Keely.
In terms of 2016, we've got, I think, a huge amount to do and a huge amount to prove, because we've worked so hard on the arrangements. We spent 3 years working on the set and structuring it, and like as Elton referred to earlier on, getting the nuances of all of the songs quite right. And we've got a number of songs recorded and awaiting release, and we're going to hopefully put out a single as soon as possible, and video, and then go and do hopefully some festivals in the summer as well.
Great. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? It's so bloody exciting. So, and in the meantime, just to remind people that you're also playing a gig, is it February 11th, 13th? 13th, which is a Saturday night, yeah.
We're playing in Unshaw on Wexford Street. And then we're playing in the Harbour Bar in Bray on the 31st of March.
Oh, great.
So they're the next two shows upcoming.
Okay. Keely and the lads, thank you all so very much from everybody at Gigonometry, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.